Monday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend was good and your afternoon is off to a good start. Could the Browns draft Travis Hunter at 2 and then get Shedeur Sanders somehow as well? That was the topic for Kay Adams and Mel Kiper Jr., ESPN's draft analyst.
It might not be a bad thing for Shedeur, but would it be a bad thing for teams that need quarterbacks? How big of a mistake would the Browns and the Giants make in taking amazing talents like Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter? But how big of a mistake would it be to pass on a quarterback at 2 and 3?
Well, time will tell us that, but I will say this. For people to say, and I've heard this over the weekend, well, if they like him, you take him at 3. If you like him, you don't take him at 3. Then you don't like him too much, you don't take him at all. Well, I remember not that long ago, people say, well, you're old, Kiper. It's 1984. Who cares, right? Do you care about when Lamar Jackson was drafted? It wasn't that long ago, Kay, when the Ravens took Hayden Hurst, a tight end out of South Carolina, not that long before they ended up trading back in to get Lamar Jackson. So could have had Lamar. They didn't have to try to make a trade. They didn't know somebody else was going to trade back in. They took Hayden Hurst, and then they traded back in to get Lamar Jackson. So did they love Lamar? If they loved him, they would have taken him over Hayden Hurst, right? A tight end out of South Carolina at the time. So to me, if the Giants or somebody can do that, New Orleans, Cleveland can take the highest rated player, then get back into the first round and get Shedeur Sanders, that's a pretty good move. The Ravens, like I say, did it not that long ago with Lamar Jackson.
It's an interesting point relative to, remember, they took Hayden Hurst in the teens and then came back and got Lamar Jackson. So we'll see if they have the opportunity to do that Thursday in the first round. Todd McShay, former ESPN draft analyst, now with the Ringer, with what he's hearing about the Browns and that second round pick at number 33 overall.
Don't expect, I'm not saying it won't happen. There's not an expectation that Cleveland's going to move up. Cleveland's going to play the weight game. Maybe that means Cleveland likes Shedeur. Yeah, we'll team him up with Travis, his old teammate, but we ain't giving up a third for it. Maybe we like Shedeur, but we also like Jackson Dart, and we like Tyler Shuck.
Right. We don't see a big difference in these players.
And again, that's the thing that everybody's weighing out is the quarterbacks and what separates them after Cam Ward. Tony Grossi, longtime Browns beat reporter, reveals his dream scenario for the draft in the Browns.
What I'm hearing right now is that Tony's dream draft is Travis Hunter at 2 and Jalen Milroe at 33. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Wow.
Tony, welcome to the party. Good to have you. And I have come
now.
180 on him. 180.
Yes, that's breaking news. Tony, what? 2 games you watched, 3 games, and you're ready to put him in Canton? What?
No, I'm willing to take him and develop him. That's all.
Would you take him?
Yes.
That man.
Yes. I think he's tough. I think he's got more upside than any quarterback.
Oh, I love him.
He's more like Jalen Hurts than Lamar Jackson. And he's better than Anthony Richardson, who was the 4th pick.
And you know what? It's hard to argue. The upside is there. The ceiling's high. The floor is pretty low. So it's going to be interesting to see those answers coming Thursday and Friday. And we will be with you for a special draft show edition of Sports4CLE both Thursday and Friday night. All right, Cavs and Heat, game 1 of the NBA playoffs, Rocket Arena, and the Cavs came out and did what the top seed in the Eastern Conference is supposed to do. Nice drive and the dunk for Donovan Mitchell. He played really well. Played some defense as well. Gets the steal and another dunk. Mitchell led the Cavs with 30 points. Darius Garland, a little bit of a slow start and then really got things rolling. Knocks down the 3. And the Cavs opened up a big lead in that second quarter. Another 3 left open again. Garland knocks it down again. He had 27. Another backcourt guy in on the party, Ty Jerome. There's a 3-ball for him. And Ty Jerome had himself a heck of a night off the bench as Jerome drives, gets the hoop and the foul. He had 28. Cavs win game 1, 121-100. Kenny Atkinson thrilled with what he got from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, he's on the floor. He was, I think we turned him over 14 times. I felt like he was a part of it, whether he got steals or not, I don't know. Poking, had a couple strips. rebounded the ball. I mean, he's kind of done that all year, right? Whatever we ask him, besides the scoring, that's been his growth area, right? We remember in Utah, teams used to attack him, and he's not that guy. Complete two-way player.
You get to the playoffs, there's going to be dynamic offensive teams. And they have guys that can, drive and break it down off the dribble. And they can also shoot pull-up threes, and then they're very good spot-up shooters as well. So that's the task, and it's up to us to figure out, how to beat that.
Cavs look great in Game 1. You can be sure the Heat aren't going anywhere, so Cavs are going to have to bring it again in Game 2 as well. Guardians trying to complete the sweep of the Pirates in Pittsburgh yesterday. Third inning, scoreless game. Stephen Kwan gets one inside. You can't do that to Stephen Kwan. Turns on it, and this one is gone. Home run to right field, 2-0. Guardians with the lead. In the 6th, Andrew McCutchen at the plate, and this one is headed into the corner. It will go as an RBI double, 2-1 Guardians. 7th inning, Kyle Manzardo at the plate for the Guardians, a man on, and Kyle Manzardo stays hot. Another 2-run homer out into right field. That made it 4-1 Guardians. 9th inning, and Emmanuel Clase in, and Adam Frazier hits one into the corner, goes as a 2-run double, 4-3. So Clase having some trouble again in the 9th inning. Kebron Hayes hits one, and it will bring in another run to tie it up. In the 10th, though, Kyle Manzardo hits a fly ball to left field. It's deep enough, brings the run in, and Joey Cantillo gets the save as the Guardians do, in fact, get the sweep. 5-4, the final. Logan Allen, another good start for the Guardians.
Really efficient and, really outside of a couple fly balls that they didn't hit the ball real hard off of them. They found some holes, but Logan was outstanding. The cutter fastball combo into righties. They have to make a late decision, and he's getting some weak contact on that. He's getting some called strikes because they think it's the cutter, and so his arsenal is just working really well, and his changeup was much better today as well. Logan's competing. That's what we challenged him on. He made some really good adjustments with his delivery. His stuff is playing really well off of each other's, pitches. And but really, it's just, to me, it's the way he's competing and going out there and attacking. This is the product of Manzo working his tail off every single day. You guys see it when in practice. He is out there taking game-like reps. He takes a lot of pride in his defense, and, he hasn't played for a week, and he goes out and makes, two really nice plays.
Guardians will start a 3-game series at Progressive Field tonight against the Yankees. They also make some news this afternoon as they have designated pitcher Tristan McKenzie for assignment and recalled Zach Kent from Columbus. Kent, 2.35 ERA for the Clippers, 10 strikeouts and 7 2/3 innings pitched. He'll be making his major league debut whenever he gets into a game for the Guardians. Guardians now have 10 days to either trade Tristan McKenzie, who they've designated for assignment. If he is unclaimed as he goes through waivers, they could get him back at AAA. But again, the Guardians designate Tristan McKenzie for assignment. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Browns are up first. Garrett Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show joins us. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We begin by talking Browns. Colin Cowherd on how he would use Travis Hunter in 2025.
In 2025, I would put him on offense, and then I would use him on defense. But I would make him a centerpiece offensively. He is long, fast, athletic, incredible catching radius. I just think in today's game, get him to the offensive side, get him 65 snaps. If I get him 28 snaps on defense, and by the way, anybody that gets him at the top of the draft's a bad team. If you want to play him 100 snaps, go for it. But I do think going forward, there's a lot more money catching the ball than defending it.
Let's welcome in G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and the Barbershop. So, G. Bush, the Browns have said they're going to use him as a wide receiver. Do you think Hunter's the guy at 2?
Yeah, I think Hunter is the guy at 2. I think that what you'll start to see is, as you listen to Andrew Berry and what he's talked about how Travis Hunter has been one of the first guys to ever play that much volume on offense and defense. You take a look at what his numbers are. I mean, he's caught 90-something passes. I mean, he's played more offensive receiver and more defensive back than any of his predecessors. That goes for Charles Woodson. That goes for Champ Bailey. That goes for, his coach, Deion Sanders. He's a guy that has played, both sides of the football, is used to doing it, played it in high school, played it in college. Not to say that you're going to play that many snaps defensively or that many snaps total, but here's the thing. If he's in shape and he can do it, and he's an academic All-American, he has, a very high GPA, he's a squeaky clean kid, all he does is care about football, then give the young man an opportunity to show what he's able to do. That's the only thing you can ask for if you are a player. If you're a player, you just ask that the team put you in a position where you can make those plays. And I look at it like this, people think of it's going to be a little more hard than I think it's going to be in terms of the mental aspect. People say, well, you're going to have to go against the Cincinnati Bengals. And in one side of the football, you got Higgins and Chase. And then, you're going to be going against defensive backs. And then you're going to have to flip over and do it. I say, well, listen, when you play corner, the thing about corners is they play so much football and their job is so specialized. They don't even need to be in the huddle. When you look at corners, there's only four positions or 4 types of coverage you can have. You can play man-to-man coverage, which is very easy. You got that guy, make sure you don't catch the ball. You got cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. You may get some cover 6 or whatever the case may be. But other than that, you got 6 or so defenses. And by the way, you're not even making the determinations. The safety is going to make the determination and tell you what the call is on a specific play. So Travis Hunter on third downs is not going to be asked to be the support safety coming up making tackles. What Travis Hunter is going to be on obvious passing downs, he's going to be there opposite Denzel Ward. And guess what? That makes Denzel Ward a better player. And by the way, you have one of the best pass rushers in Myles Garrett, so you don't have all day to throw the football. I think Travis Hunter plays both offense and defense. The Browns will find a way to do it. And here's the thing, too. If you are a team that does not think that you can creatively get Travis Hunter the football, then don't draft him. Simply don't put yourself in that position. Draft a traditional guy like Abdul Carter or draft somebody else like that if you don't think that you could get the most out of him. And that's just what it is. But I think the Browns have gone on record, and I think Andrew Berry has spoke highly of him. So I think they will use him on both sides.
So Browns did make a roster addition today. They've signed former Dolphins cornerback Nick Needham. And this is a guy that has experience on the outside, the slot, and at safety. Former undrafted rookie, started 27 games in 4 seasons with the Dolphins before he tore the Achilles in 2022. So, T. Bush, let's connect the dots. This is a guy that you've signed. You already had M.J. Emerson. You have Denzel Ward. You had Greg Newsome. You had Grant Delpit. Does this mean you're trading either M.J. Emerson or Greg Newsome come draft time? Or is this guy your free safety? But assuming that you draft Hunter, you got a glut of cornerbacks, and there's some positions that you need upgrading.
Yeah, listen, M.J. Emerson, 4-year deal, right? He's done after this year. Greg Newsome, finished after this year. No more years on those deals. You took a look, Juan Thornhill, he was a cap casualty. He got cut. This guy looks like he's going to be a death piece. And listen, they're going to give DeAnthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman full opportunity to take one of those positions. You still have guys, Cam Mitchell, that you had out of Northwestern. So you got some people in the mix a little bit. You still got Grant Delpit. But I think this year is going to be a year we find out. We're going to find out if MJ Emerson is worth that type of money, because you do have Travis Hunter. We're going to find out where Greg Newsome lands. I think Greg Newsome could be a candidate that you may be looking to trade on draft night. You've already upgraded at that position a little bit and found, I think this guy from the as you can tell with the Dolphins, I think he's going to be a safety. And I think they want to get better at the safety position. I think they want to get more athletic. I think MJ Emerson has shown a little bit of, I would say, why he was a third-round pick is because he does not have the quickness in the short term. He's a physical corner. He wants to get his hands on you, but he struggled down the field in one-on-one coverage. And Schwartz likes to run a lot of man. So, I think that they're looking to upgrade those positions, and this is going to be something that I look forward to on draft night. Could MJ Emerson or Greg Newsome be part of a draft day trade? I think so.
Without question. Andrew Berry asked that very question. Would he be willing to trade veterans on draft night? And here's his answer from his media availability.
I wouldn't rule anything out, Mary Kay. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily like top of mind, but I think back a couple years ago with Troy Hill, we weren't necessarily going into the weekend thinking that was going to be an active trade. Martin was available in a trade back. We were able to shed some salary and get an additional pick, so it made sense for us at the time. I wouldn't rule again, being opportunistic out.
And remember, Greg Newsome was a first-round pick. I know, in the 20s, had a couple of productive years. MJ Emerson, we were talking like we thought him to be taking that next step last year, and he took a step back. So these are guys that would have some value.
Yeah, especially for teams that find themselves a little bit and where we were, I kind of say last year, where you have a team, you have a veteran team, and you think you're going to make a run. You think your time is win now. And maybe you look not Denzel Ward, but maybe Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome aren't going to be your number one or number two corners. But if you're a team who wants to get themselves a guy that you can plug and play today, rather than developing guys in the draft or looking on the waiver wires to figure out if they're going to play young guys, those guys are plug and play guys where you can bring those guys in. They're veterans. You know what they're good at. You know what they're not good at. And you can basically put them in a lineup and say, listen, we don't have time to wait on rookies. We think we're in a win now situation. We got our quarterback. We got our pieces that we have in play. We're looking to win today. And I think, some teams, that's a value, right? The Browns are not necessarily in that window anymore, especially when you're starting a 40-year-old quarterback in Joe Flacco. You don't know if you're going to bring back your top running back in Nick Chubb, and you're drafted in the top one or two in the draft. That means you're not a good team, and you need to be resetting a little bit. So the Browns are looking to get pieces that are younger, that they can develop. We kind of know at this point, don't we know what Greg Newsome is?
Yep.
Don't we kind of know what they like? Don't we know what Martin Emerson is? We've had an opportunity, and look, those guys have had 3-4 years to come in, grab the reins, and say, "Hey, Cleveland Browns, I'm one of those guys that we should be extending." Unfortunately, this is quite too often when we're talking about these drafts where Jed Wills was one of those players that came up and took a position. Martin Emerson and now Greg Newsome. You're going to have to start hitting on some of these picks because you got to turn your roster over with guys that you're drafting and developing.
So national reports are circulating the past couple of days, over the weekend and then today, that Saints are unlikely to draft Shedeur Sanders at 9. Steelers could very well pass at him, not draft a quarterback at 21. Longtime Browns beat reporter Tony Grossi on who he thinks the Browns would take at 33 if Sanders and Milroe were both there.
One thing I always said about Shedeur Sanders, he's the toughest guy out there. Milroe's just as tough.
Wow.
He is just as tough mentally, physically. He does not have the most inaccurate arm I've ever seen. Sure, he's not consistent. That's why he's not. Otherwise, he'd be challenging for the first player in the draft. Okay, he's not that. But is he draftable and worthy of working? Yeah, I think the Browns have set it up that they realize all these shortcomings, and that's why they have Flacco and a younger veteran like Pickett. So I would take this guy over any quarterback in the second round.
I don't know, G. Bush, if Shedeur Sanders is sitting there and Jalen Milroe's sitting there, I'm probably taking Shedeur Sanders at 33.
Man, that innocent in the second round. Stop playing, because here's what my thought process is. I think you may have a situation where you may have 3-4 quarterbacks go in the first round. I'm gonna tell you what, this is the way it works. One team can screw the whole thing up. Because a lot of people get real comfortable in saying, oh, they'll be there at 33, he'll be there at 15, he'll be there. But all it takes is one team to think that one of the guys on their board is not there, and all of a sudden the run starts. If you're talking about skill for skill, throw for throw, it's not even close in terms of what you're talking about with the difference between Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe. I like Jalen Milroe. As a matter of fact, I've moved him up past Jackson Dart. Because if I'm at the end of the first round or the beginning of the second, I'll give Tony Grossi a little bit of credit and say, I believe that at that point, you're drafting guys for lottery tickets. Yep. Everybody wants to hit on the Lamar Jackson like the Baltimore Ravens did at 32. Everybody wants that. If he falls past 21 at the Steelers, he goes past 24, and he gets all the way to the second round, you take your pick. And you just go hand it in and say Shedeur Sanders, because at the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders is the most accurate passer in this class. I think he's shown the most toughness in this class. And look at the supporting cast from the rest of these guys at quarterback. If Shedeur Sanders played for Ohio State, how many yards would he put up? If Shedeur Sanders had the talent that Cam Ward had good luck. I mean, if you look at Colorado's talent, especially in the offensive line, and you compare it down the line to all of the other top quarterbacks, I mean, his by far the worst. So to me, I think he fits Stefanski's system the best. I think he's the most accurate. I think he's the most above the shoulders, ready to play. And I think he's built for whatever it is that comes his way in the league. So no, I would not take Jalen Milroe ahead of Shedeur Sanders if they're both on the board. But I will say this. I would consider taking Jalen Milroe over anybody else because of his elite ability to run. And I think the Browns, from what I'm hearing from, some pretty good people, is they really do like Jalen Milroe.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit more about the draft. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as the Barbershop. There's some thought that the Browns take Travis Hunter at number 2. Then with that second pick in the first round, 33 overall, they trade back into the back half of the first round to select a quarterback. NFL Live, looking at the 3 times the Browns have done that in the past.
They had the Browns trading for a second first-round pick to get Jackson Dart. There have been 3 times that the Browns had multiple first-round picks and used the second one on a quarterback. The picks were Johnny Manziel, Brandon Weeden, and Brady Quinn, and they were all picked 22nd overall. Now, none of them ended up working out, as they want to combine 10 games with the franchise. So it's an interesting prospect to consider, right? But, where's RC? Oh, no, it's a no for you, RC? No?
You don't even want to relive none of those people, Laura. Let that young go.
I know, but Well, okay, I hear you. Mina, after hearing all that and what RC just said, should the Browns look to trade into the first round and try to get their quarterback or just sit tight at 33?
I think sit tight, and I like the idea of them staying there and drafting the Louisville quarterback, Tyler Shuck.
G. Bush, remember, Ryan Clark's a Steeler who was shaking his heads at the three guys that they traded to the back half of the first round with. I mean, those were bad. And I wouldn't do it for Jackson Dart. I might do it for Jalen Milroe, and I don't think I'd take Tyler Shuck at the top of the third or top of the second.
Man, no. See, this is sometimes I think they be trolling us, man. They try to tell us. Now think about this. Now they tell us, oh no, you better not take Shedeur Sanders at 2. That's a reach. But the New York Giants get on the clock. They go take the card up and say, Shedeur Sanders, I think this is a great pick by the Giants. This kid is going to be tremendous in New York. He's tough as nails. You'd be like, but hold on. I just thought you said it 5 seconds ago, 1 pick higher. It was a disaster for it, but it's Cleveland, no. Like, you just mentioned them names, right? Yeah. Ryan Clark says, no, we're not doing it. And then Mina, I love Mina Kimes. I love her to death. But then she comes on and says, I'll stay at 33 and take Tyler Shuck. No, this is the Wheaton move. We're not doing that. I don't trust nothing that moves that quickly. Tyler Shuck was a guy we had never heard of. None. He's not in the college football playoff. He has a nondescript type career. He's been injured like 7, 8, 9 years. He's 26 or something. And then all of a sudden, after the Senior Bowl, we like him. We love him. And you start moving him up the board. I'm like, well, at least I heard of Jackson Dart. At least I understand Shedeur Sanders played before. I didn't watch all his games. Heck, I even seen Will Howard play. But no, I'm cool on that. I'm not going to move up to do that. And to be honest with you, I like Jackson Dart, but if I'm gonna bet, I'm gonna bet big. I'm gonna go. Listen, I'm gonna get a lottery ticket, and I'm gonna go with Jalen Milroe as the second quarterback. Those are the two. If Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe are there, and you like them, and they're at a point on the board where you feel like I could get my guy, I'll do it.
I'm with you.
But other than that,
I'm 100% with you. All right, ESPN.com's Jordan Reed with a mock draft. We're going to take a look at the first 4 picks for the Browns. He has Travis Hunter at 2, Jalen Milroe at 33, Elijah Arroyo, really nice-looking playmaking tight end at 67, DJ Giddens, Kansas State running back at 94. G. Bush, I could get behind those. I could get behind that kind of production. That's what they need. You got me a quarterback with upside. You got me a playmaking wide receiver, a running back that's decent, and a guy that makes plays with the ball in his hands. Yes.
I love every one of these picks. He looked like he just was. Is he on my page? I have them written down right here. I was going to show you. These are the ones. He has them. I love Giddens from Kansas State. I was watching him make Shiloh Sanders look crazy. I'm like, this guy is shifty. I watched that game last year, Kansas State, Colorado. Arroyo is one of my sleepers. This guy reminds me of a young Jimmy Graham, and he came from the University of Miami. He's running away from guys long, lengthy, can catch the ball. One of those basketball receivers, that tight ends we had. Can you imagine him and Njoku running around with Flacco throwing the ball downfield? And plus, obviously, you take a look, and we talk about Jalen Milroe. He's going to be a guy that you put in. And look, the great thing about it is, the thing I like about Jalen Milroe is not only his skill set in terms of his athleticism, but he's a good person. Shining, no character issues. I think he comes from a military family. No issues, very smart. You put this guy behind Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, you can redshirt him essentially. If you want to get him a couple of games at the end of the season just to see what he got, sure. But you can let him sit, learn, give him a package on the goal line, utilize his legs. Come on now. And you got Travis Hunter, the best playmaker in the game. Man, that is a great draft. Somebody shake this man's hand, because if you say, G. Bush, you can sign up for that list today, you got 4 of those guys on the offensive side of the football, and you still got all kind of picks coming up later on that you can get linemen and other things with.
I'm with
Love it.
I'm with you 100%. G. Bush, as always, man. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Have a good one.
G. Bush, make sure you check him out. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday. Also the Barbershop on Saturday mornings. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out, so we continue talking Browns, a little bit of Cavs with Kenny Roda from News Talk 1480 WHBC. Straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Hey, you know, the new Mega Millions is coming through any minute now.
It's here.
Bigger jackpots.
50 million?
50 million? New multiplier included.
Better odds?
Bigger wins. All for just
$5?
Let's go!
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. NFL draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah asked about the growing perception that Travis Hunter will be the Browns' pick at number 2 and how he views Hunter.
I would start offense. I'm kind of saying that through this process. It's different. First of all, we haven't seen something like this, who's someone who wants to do everything on both sides. I don't think I would do that initially. I think you have to major and minor, and historically, if you have a player that has value there, he's been a full-time defensive player with a package of plays on offense. That's just been it's the way it's always been. We haven't really seen it the other way around, with the exception of maybe Troy Brown on a couple snaps for the Patriots. But to me, I think he's more valuable to your team on offense right now. I think he's further developed on offense. I think he touches the ball more. He just makes more of an impact. So I'm going to have him as a full-time starter at receiver, and we'll start there for a while, and then we can start maybe incorporating him into some defensive, packages if that's your dime, your nickel, whatever. But giving him, an opportunity to get on the field, make some plays on some third downs defensively, and maybe that grows and evolves into more than that over time. But that's where I would start with it, and I think you can get really excited if you're a Browns fan and you start thinking about what Jerry Jeudy did last year, and now we get a chance to throw Travis Hunter out there on offense as a really, really talented, explosive player who's outstanding with the ball in his hands. That would make the Browns really, really fun to watch. I can tell you that.
So I'm in Kenny Roda from the Kenny and JT Show, WHBC News Talk 1480. Kenny, I was telling you, you can talk me into Hunter, Carter, Sanders. You can talk me out of Hunter, Carter, and Sanders. It's a scary place to be picking 2 where there isn't anybody that you're like, man, this guy's going to be a stud.
See, I'm going to disagree with you. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a stud. I think he's the pick. You sprint up to the podium, you turn in his name, you start him at wide receiver, and I agree with Daniel there, and you play him a little bit on defense, work him in on defense, third down situations, nickelback, whatever it is. He has said he wants to play both offense and defense, almost an ultimatum out there. That's why the Giants came out and said they'd play him both ways. They want him to be comfortable if they pick him. You had Andrew Berry the other day talk a little bit about that. They view him as a wide receiver first, but he compared him to Shohei Ohtani. Now, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but maybe not. I mean, I go back to, Dabo Swinney, and it hasn't aged well for the Cleveland Browns when Deshaun Watson came here, but Dabo Swinney said, you better draft him because he's the Michael Jordan of football and the future of football. Now, it hasn't worked out with the Browns. It looked like maybe Watson was going to be decent in Houston, and then the off-the-field issues hit, and it's been a disaster here. But to compare Hunter to Shohei, a little bit of a stretch, but we'll see. The kid's a winner everywhere he's gone. Heisman Trophy. He can play both ways. I think you take him and you worry about your quarterback in the second round or moving back into the first round.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I don't love the idea of him playing both ways. Here's my question. If he's playing both ways, does he become as good at either one as he would be if he dedicates himself to, refining his route running and all the craft that goes into a wide receiver? And you ask the same thing about a cornerback. Now, he's talented, and you don't want to stun him. Anytime anybody mentions Ohtani, I got to tell you, remember, he had Tommy John surgery. He hasn't been able to pitch because he broke down.
Right. It's a great point. It really is. And I love the major minor comparison there, too, from Daniel. So I get it. The Browns view him as a wide receiver. That's why they will draft him, to be their number one wide receiver. No offense to Jerry Jeudy, who's already in the NFL, but the upside for Travis Hunter is a wideout much greater than that of Jerry Jeudy. Nice 1-2 punch, irregardless of who's 1 and 2. You have them both on the field at the same time. And like I said, you work him in on defense. He's going to be better than, if not every one of your defensive backs, most of them other than Denzel Ward. I mean, I was looking at the R-Lad scouting guide, and I'll give these guys some love. I've been using these guys since 1999, right? They've got him as the number one wide receiver and the number one defensive back, so he can play both. The question is, where do you need him more if you're the Browns? And I think that's on offense. But as he has told you, he wants to play both, so you sprinkle in 10 to 15 plays on defense per game as he adjusts to being a wide receiver in the NFL as well as a cornerback.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of a number one wide receiver. The Browns definitely need one. So Adam Schefter tweets this out, and it's created some buzz. Browns have inquired about the number one overall pick moving up from 2 to 1. Kenny, they have to do that because you want to know what it's going to cost. And my guess is the Titans said it'll be next year's number one and plus. And Andrew Berry said, "Okay, thanks. We'll talk to you. See you at the draft."
The only way you would trade up is if you think Cam Ward is the future of football in Cleveland. And I like Cam Ward, but I don't view him as a franchise quarterback. Compared to next year's class, which could be headlined by Arch Manning, right? The DNA is there. He's playing at Texas. They open up at Ohio State. You'll get a good feel for him right away in that first game. I don't see Cam Ward as the guy you mortgage some of your future for, betting on him to be your entire future.
ESPN Cleveland's Tony Rizzo with what he's hearing coming out of Berea.
I found out some news coming out the building this weekend. Music to my high-level center ears. The Browns need, and the Browns are targeting a tackle. Believe it. I'm certainly not at 2, but tackle is in play at 33. If somebody slips, if Banks or somebody were to be there, one of the top tackles in this draft, the kid from Oregon, if somebody slips, the Browns are going to have a discussion all night long going into day 2 of the draft.
Kenny, I don't question the fact that they need a tackle. They definitely need a tackle. I don't know that they need him at 33, especially if there's a quarterback. If one of those quarterbacks that you're okay with is sitting there at 33 and you take Travis Hunter, number 2 overall, I don't see that happening. I see you taking a quarterback.
Going to be about best player available versus the quarterback you like, right? Which quarterbacks are left, and they'll rank them 1, 2, 3. And then who is the best player available at 33? Who does fall? Do they need a tackle? Absolutely. They could use a right tackle or a left tackle. I mean, that's been a disaster since Andrew Berry made his first ever draft pick, selecting Jed Wills over Tristan Wirfs, and that's worked out in favor of Tampa, not in favor of Andrew Berry and Cleveland, and that's why that, along with his other draft history, I have no faith in Andrew Berry to get this right. Let's hope times are changing, but I could see them taking a tackle if, let's say, the number 3 tackle on the entire board is there. He's the highest rated player at 33. I wouldn't have a problem doing that, because then it tells me that you're going to look for quarterback in the 3rd round where you have 2 picks, or you could take those 2 and move back into the 2nd round, still get your quarterback. And you're also looking already at a Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco quarterback room where you might be happy with that and taking the quarterback later, or looking for that quarterback in the draft next year. So I think anything is at play with the 33rd pick.
So Browns obviously need a quarterback, and they will likely draft one. Daniel Jeremiah asked about a guy that's been linked to the Browns in that 2nd round, maybe even late 1st round, Jalen Milroe from Alabama.
Yeah, it's hard to find a comp for him. I can start there. He is an elite runner. If you just did a cut up and just with the ball in your arm and running, and you stacked him up with a really, really good running back class, just looking at him just as a runner, he would not look out of place at all. Like, he is dynamic. He can make you miss. He can break tackles. Like, there is zero question that he's going to have an impact with the ball under his arm. In terms of the things that to work on with him, he's not consistently connected between his eyes and his feet. That impacts his accuracy. The decision-making, you referenced the turnovers, that's, to me, that comes with playing, that comes with learning. Being in a little different system this year, that didn't go quite as smoothly as you would have hoped. I do think he needs time. I do think he requires patience. And talking to teams, though, if you were to use the phrase with him that's used more than any other, of all the quarterbacks in this draft, that's the lottery ticket. Like, if you want to just take a lottery ticket that you could hit huge on, if it all works out and it all comes together, he's got the highest upside of anybody in this draft, and that goes all the way up to Cam Ward at number 1. But he is a long way from getting there. So it's to me, it's a classic second-round pick. You get your first pick in the bag, you feel comfortable about it. It's a double off the wall, and then now you can stop choking up and you can swing for the fences with Jalen Milroe. So that's how just about everybody universally views him. So we'll see where he ends up going. And in terms of a comparison, the only thing I could say is, like, as a runner, he's as impressive as Lamar Jackson was as a runner coming out. Lamar was light years ahead of him in terms of the passing game at that point in time. And Lamar's continued to just improve each and every year in that department as well.
It's interesting. I don't know about the lottery ticket at 33. I like it better in the third round, but you might not have that option.
The question is, how do other teams who need quarterbacks view him compared to who else will be left at that time, right? And I think it is a lottery ticket. And are you willing to, spend the money at 33? Or, like I said, do you take best player available there, wait to see how far maybe he falls, and then move back into the second round if you really like him? Of course, you have the connection with Tommy Rees, the new offensive coordinator. They spent a year together in 2023 at Alabama. I was looking at his stats that year. He threw for 2,834 yards, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions that season. All right? So some decent numbers. In fact, better than his numbers were last year when he only threw 16 touchdowns and had 11 interceptions. I'm not a huge Jalen Milroe guy. I really don't love a lot of these quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds. Round 3, and what are they picking? I think they're picking number 67 in round 3. So early in that third round. If he's still there, if he falls to round 3 at 67, I wouldn't have a problem if they took a chance, because you need to take a chance on somebody at the quarterback position in this draft. It's just a matter of who and how high do you take that pick.
Well, you can say the same thing about running back. Kenny Roda and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. When we return, we'll talk a little bit about running back in the Browns. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns. We'll get into little Cavs as well with Kenny Roda from the Kenny and JT Show, WHBC 1480 News Talk out in Canton. Kenny, I tease this. Browns definitely need a running back, maybe 2 from this draft. How high do you draft them? And is there a guy that you're kind of targeting in that range?
I know it's going to sound like a homer pick, but I'm not a guy that says draft an Ohio State guy just because he went to Ohio State. The reason I say draft an Ohio State guy this year at running back at possibly number 33 is because they had 2 of the best in the country, and they won a national championship, and either one, Trevion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, would be a huge improvement over what the Browns currently have at running back, and Nick Chubb isn't one of those guys. We don't know if he will be. So for me, at 33, again, I'm looking best player available. Then I look at need of the football team, and then I try to marry the two. And right now, Quinshon Judkins, if he were drafted by the Browns, would be their starting running back in 2025. Trevion Henderson, if he were drafted by the Browns, would be their starting running back in 2025. So for me, those are two guys that could be there at 33, and I wouldn't have a problem taking either one of them.
Yeah, I'm with you. And if you get Hunter and one of those running backs, now all of a sudden you got some playmakers on the offensive side of the ball for whomever lines up as the starting quarterback.
And Dave, let me just interject this. You look at their numbers, and they don't compare to an Ashton Genty individually, right? But if you were to combine those two numbers, because those guys split time, and they did a fabulous job of keeping those guys healthy and fresh, and you saw what each of them did in the postseason. If you put their numbers together, that individual would probably be the top running back in this draft.
Yeah, without question. So let's turn our attention to the Cavs. Game one last night, they defeat the Heat by a score of 121-100. Donovan Mitchell leads the way, 30 points. Ty Jerome had 28 off the bench. And the Cavs did what they wanted to do in game one. Here's Mitchell and Jerome.
Just setting the tone. Just trying to be aggressive, making the defense have to react to me. Pretty much my mindset every time, I get out there. Because honestly, you really evaluate the series. You kind of go over the film. This is the first time having film. You can watch all the film from the regular season, but for me, just trying to be aggressive from the jump, first playoff game, and go from there.
And that's how for you. How would you summarize your playoff debut?
Solid. Is that first time in the playoffs? Damn, sure it looked like it.
Solid, yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, solid game one.
Kenny, he was a little bit better than solid. But, I watched almost the entire game. There was never a point in the second half, even when the Heat got down to 5 or 6, it was like they just don't – they didn't have the gas to get back to even, I didn't feel.
Yeah, you've got to win 2 games just to get there. And we've seen this, right? We've seen this movie before. Usually game one for play-in teams that have had to win 2 games. They'll hang with you for a while, but then the legs are gone. You do run out of gas. The Cavs pull away. Ty Jerome, absolutely love Ty Jerome. He was a punchline last year on the Kenny and JT show. We'd look at the injury report, and except for the first 2 games, I think, oh, there's Ty Jerome. Boy, that must be a horrible ankle injury. Well, it was, and we didn't know the extent of that ankle injury. And kudos to him for getting the surgery, rehabbing, and then coming back to prove that, hey, I belong in this league. I belong on that court. I deserve playing time. Look at what I did at Virginia with DeAndre Hunter when we won the national championship, and I was a key part of that. I deserve to be a starting point guard in this league, and that's a little concerning for the future, right? Whether or not the Cavaliers and Kobe Altman can keep him, I think they will, but he's proved to be one of the best stories, not just in Cleveland this year, but in the entire NBA, and he's up for 6th Man of the Year award. I think he deserves it, but Pritchard in Boston probably is going to get it, but Ty Jerome is right there with him, and they'll probably face off against each other in the Eastern Conference Finals, which should be fun.
Heat, well coached. They're going to make some adjustments. The one thing I would say, though, Kenny Atkinson has pretty much a boatload of answers to whatever you want to try to do. Remember, Mobley and Allen, they didn't take a lot of shots. They weren't really involved, and they still won by 21.
Yeah, Mobley had a bad game offensively. He didn't have a single rebound in the first half. He doesn't like the physicality. He needs to adjust to it. He's got to realize that in the playoffs, guess what? You're going to get fouled. It's not going to get called. Guess what? You're going to get fouled again, and it's not going to get called, right? So you've got to punch back, and you've got to play through the physicality. I saw him complain more yesterday in one game than in about 2 weeks worth of games. So get used to it. It's going to get ratcheted up even more every round you go. And I expect Kenny Atkinson, play number 1 on Wednesday night against the Miami Heat. It would not shock me at all if he goes right down on the low block to Evan Mobley and gets him involved early to get him going to complement Darius Garland's 27, Ty Jerome's 28, and Donovan Mitchell's 30. And let's give Jared Allen a little love. Double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds. Good to have him back healthy. And to your point about the depth, I was curious how many guys he would play yesterday. And Kenny Atkinson rolled out all 10 in the first half. He played 10 guys in the first half. Now, some not as much as others, but still, he's not afraid to do it. I think he will pick and choose his times when to do it. I just hope he doesn't keep Isaac Okoro out there too long when he continues to throw up brick after brick from three-point range, because the Heat are going to allow him to shoot three-point shots because he can't make them consistently.
9 guys played at least 13 minutes, to your point. That's an advantage because you're gonna be looking to take advantage of a matchup at some point. And you want these guys to know, he's shown them, I have confidence to put you on the court in a playoff game. That's the reason he continues to do that.
He can't drastically change all of a sudden, right? That would send the wrong message in the locker room. He's played 10 guys, sometimes more, throughout the season. And I saw Sam Merrill in early in the game. I was like, wow, I didn't expect to see him maybe until the 8th or 9th guy off the bench, and he interjected him in early in that first quarter. And then if you look down the stretch from about the 9-minute mark to the 3-minute mark, Mobley and Mitchell, for not all of it, but some of that, they were on the bench, and Sam Merrill was in there with Ty Jerome. So he trusts his bench. He will have to pick and choose when he uses that bench, depending on, like you said, the matchups, but it's there should it be needed. He's got enough tools in his toolbox to use for anything that might break down or needs adjusted.
Kenny Roda, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insights. Thanks very much, Kenny.
Always a pleasure, David. Thanks for having me.
Kenny Roda, make sure you check him out. Kenny and JT Show News Talk, 1480 WHBC, always really good and entertaining stuff. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. We continue talking Cavs. Sam Amico from hoopswire.com, Full Court Cleveland. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
Hey, you know, the new Mega Millions is coming through any minute now.
It's here.
Bigger jackpots.
50 million?
50 million. New multiplier included.
Better odds?
Bigger wins. All for just
$5?
Let's go!
We continue talking Cavs on Sports4CLE. Cavs, as we mentioned, win game 1 last night, 121-100. Kenny Atkinson on what he saw from his team and what he expects from this series.
I think we played super hard, competitive. I thought we kind of made some unforced errors. Just some, decision making was not elite. And I think they have something to do with that, right? Especially the way they crowd the paint, and then they play the zone, so your decision making's got to be on point. One thing about the Heat, they make you play for 48. I know that's a cliche, but a lot of teams don't. You cannot relax. I think this series, whatever happens, we're going to get so much better playing these guys. Even tonight, I know the score was 20 or whatever, but it was about 6-7 point game there. We just hit some shots, but it's gonna be a battle this series, and that's ton of respect for that team over there.
Let's welcome in Sam Amico from hoopswire.com and co-host of Full Court Cleveland. Sam, I know you wrote an article about it, kind of continuation of the regular season, and that's kind of what Kenny Atkinson was alluding to.
Yeah, that was a message